Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar session brought to you by Sacred Heart University, USA and Siksha.com. Student, this is an informative session on the by the Sacred Heart University to international students. Student, before we move further, I would like to introduce our presenter from the university. We have Ms. Francesca Di Risso. She is the Director of International Admissions at the university, and she will be taking up doing the session and taking up the questions and queries that you have regarding the undergraduate program. Student, a note for all of you, if you have questions that you want to ask her, I will request you to please post your questions in the question section. We will take all the questions at the end of the session. And if you wish to ask questions directly to her, I will request you to please click on the raise hand tab. Siksha will unmute you and you can ask your questions directly to her. I will now request Francesca to please start with the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lakshmi. Thank you for having me here. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this presentation. We will go over a general overview of the institution I represent, the programs that we offer, as well as our application process and requirements. Like we have already mentioned, there is a chat option on this platform. You can use it both for any questions that you have, as well as if I speak during the presentation, you cannot hear me anymore, or something goes wrong, please write everything there. There will be someone monitoring the chat, so we will be able to get your feedback. But let's get started since we don't have too much time. Like it was already mentioned, my name is Francesca. I work here at Sacred Heart University in our international admissions office, and I'm the director of the undergraduate international recruitment side. So anything that has to do with students seeking our bachelor's degree programs, wanting to apply, or sometimes even to transfer from their own university abroad to Sacred Heart University to finish their bachelor's degree. That's who I work with. It's now 6 years that I'm at Sacred Heart University, so I got to know the institution and obviously our process fairly well. So for those of you, or maybe all of you who have never heard of Sacred Heart, let's give some coordinates. So we are located in New England, this being the northeastern corner of the United States. You see the little heart that we put on the map that gives you an idea of where we are. To be more precise, what I can say is that we are about an hour and sorry about the background noise, about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour or so from New York City. So everybody knows New York City. So if maybe some of you have traveled there, have relatives that live near there, most of our international students can fly to JFK International Airport and be on our campus in an hour and a half by taxi or shuttle. So it's very, very convenient. And on top of that, it's not just a good thing to be near a major airport. There's also a lot of things to do, as you can imagine. So it's a very, very busy and diverse area. Let's talk now, though, more specifically about Sacred Heart University. We're considered what we say in the United States, what we define as a medium-sized university. What does that mean? It means that overall, we have less than 10,000 students, okay? More than 10,000 would be considered a large institution. We are a medium-sized university with about a little bit more than 6,000 undergraduate students, about 6,500 students in our undergraduate programs. Okay, so it's a lot of people, right, that live and learn on our campus, but it's not an overwhelming numbers like in many large universities in the US. Something else that is very, very important if you are thinking about going to study abroad, is the size of the classes. So, for example, if you know that you want to be in a classroom or in an institution where you can ask a question to your professors, where you don't have to be like in the back of a huge lecture hall, you cannot hear what the professor says or it's confusing. You want to be in a smaller classroom environment. Sacred Heart University could be a great option for you, because as you can see on the some of the statistics that are on this slide on the left, our average class size is 21 students. So it doesn't matter if you come to Sacred University to study finance or chemistry or communication, you will always learn in small groups. So where professors know you by name, where you can ask the questions, where you can stay at the end of the class to go over some things that were not clear. So we try to really personalize the learning experience for all of our students. And this is very important because some of you know that they learn better if they can be tended by, right, carefully by the teachers. So that could be a great option. Couple of other things that I want to mention. I already said, we have more than 6,000 undergraduate students. So it's not a large school, but it's still a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of time. I'll tell you now more in other slides later about this. But besides all the academic offer that the university obviously has available, there's a lot, like one of the big components of an experience in the United States for college university is campus life and student life and all the extracurricular activities. So you see, we listed here some of the, some stats about this, like all the club sports, all the varsity sport teams that we have. We have a golf course. We have great performing arts groups for students and a lot more. And I'll show you also pictures in a little while. But this speaks for how involved our students can get on our campus, and also for how important that is for the overall experience. Couple more notes regarding our location. If you've never visited this area, Boston, New York, what we call New England, well, we experience all 4 seasons. So, many of you may be obviously from different climate regions in the world. We experience all 4 seasons. So we go through, well, right now we're towards the end of our winter, which typically lasts from December through March. Can be very cold with a lot of snow. At the end of that, we get spring time, summer. Summer can be as well, very, very warm and hot from, May to August, with, 30 or more degrees in the middle of summer, and then fall or autumn going from September through November. So, we go through all of this, okay? We go through all the temperatures. So that's something else to consider if you want to travel abroad and live abroad in a university campus for a few years. But this is our area. We are on the shore near the coast of Connecticut in a beautiful town called Fairfield with a lot of services, a mall. The picture of the mall you see here, it's 2 minutes from our campus. And this is just a couple of pictures of our campus. It's really beautiful, is well taken care of, is extremely safe. That's something that we always like to remind our students and families of. The safety level of our campus it's something that we consider very, very important. So it's a very safe place to live, as well as very pretty, as you can see here. We have, as a university, built a lot new buildings over the past few years. So if you come even to visit our campus, you'll see a lot of facilities that are brand new. And as you can see here at a glance, we look like a little village. Why so? We are a residential campus. This means that we are not just a school for commuter students that has to, either live in the area, so they just drive back and forth to class and then they go home at night. or even our international students, we just have them, find your own place to live and during the day come to class. No, when we say we are a residential campus, this means that our students live and learn and really, have this 360-degree experience on our campus with us. And actually, this is very important, especially for first-year students, undergraduate students like you, because we actually require that students live on our campus for the first 2 years. Then they can choose. They're welcome to continue using the university housing if they just find it easier. They don't want to deal with signing a lease or paying bills or renting a car because then they have to drive. They just want to stay there. They can continue to do so. Or they may just find it easier to rent an apartment with the friends that they've made in the first 2 years. But as you can see here at a glance, everything is there. All the services, so the places where students live, our dining services are all there because obviously our students need to eat. Public safety, I'm thinking of laundry. We have a shuttle system that's free for students, of course, that connects our campus with the local mall, with the train station, with the downtown Fairfield, so the center of the town, with another part of our campus called West Campus, where, for example, where all the business and engineering programs are, but only the classes, no students live there. So we do provide also all the services to make sure that our residential students don't miss anything, right? And they don't have any issues in enjoying overall the experience with us. Oops, sorry, that went fast. Briefly, this is just a little sneak peek of some of our dorms. So as we invite our students to live with us on our campus, here is some of the spaces that you will find. So like I said, you're required to live on campus for the first 2 years. And we often get questions from students, but why do I have to? Can't I just rent an apartment somewhere else and then rent a car? We just do not recommend that. First of all, it's not allowed in general, okay? But overall, keep in mind a few things. A, if you want to drive in the United States, you need to get a license here. And that means that takes some time. You cannot just do it as you arrive. Second, to rent a car, a student must be at least 25 years old in the United States. So even if you're 18, even 21, you just cannot do that when you come here. Second, you may have classes that start at 8 in the morning, or they may finish at 9 at night. You may want to stay in the library to study with your friends, to prepare a project. If you live off campus, all of these activities become way complicated. You're not going to be able maybe to join this team, even if you want to play tennis, or you cannot join the theater arts group. And all because, well, you maybe rely just on the bus, or I don't know, or you cannot take Uber every single day. So this being said, it is way better, safer, and easier for students to attain to the university policy of living on campus, at least for the first 2 years. And then we can make a decision for the second half of your experience. Um, Briefly, I'll get to soon to the academic part, because I know that most of you are eager to hear about entry requirements, test requirements, but I'll get to that with one more piece of information. And this being the success of our students. We have a 98% of our graduated students who are employed full-time or enrolled in a graduate school within 12 months from graduation. So this is a very, very good result, and we owe this not only to the classes, the professors, the learning that they go through, but definitely to our Center for Career and Professional Development. So we make sure that we connect our students with the local companies in the area. We make sure that the employers can come to campus, and this started again finally we obviously had to pause this for a while for COVID, but they're coming back to interview students, to recruit students. So we do really a great job in making sure that you're not going to be, up for, looking for then ideas on what to do next when you graduate. So let's get to what you probably are most interested in right now, I would think, which is our academic offer. So what programs of study does Sacred Heart University have? And here it is. You see a full list. This is in alphabetical order, okay? There is only one change that we'll need to make for the next few years. You see one program listed here called Hospitality, Resort, and Tourism Management that is no longer going to be offered as a major of its own over the next few years. So this is just a heads up for those of you looking at this list. But as you can see, we offer programs that go from cybersecurity to philosophy to biochemistry to theater arts. So we're a liberal arts university. You see the whole, again, richness of offers that is out there. And of course, if there's more specific question about these or that program, we'll be happy to answer that in the question part of this presentation. Something that I want you all to know. It is okay in the United States in general, but definitely specifically for Sacred Heart University, to not know what you want to study, or maybe to have an idea. Like, I want to study business, but you don't know exactly if you want to major in business economics or finance or accounting. And that is totally okay. So students actually have 3 semesters of time until they must declare a major. So this means that you can totally start at Sacred Heart University and being undecided. That is very common because we know that you guys are young and you may not necessarily know what you want to major in. And it's a very common fact here in the United States, okay, in our educational system. The other thing is that is very important, I want you to know, you may be able to change your major. You may be super sure that you want to major in marketing, but then as you start the program at the beginning of your second year, you've decided that, yes, maybe you still like it, but it's not for you. You want to major in something else that you discovered in the meantime. So this is also possible. So keep in mind the flexibility of the educational system here, okay? Well, I mentioned that before. Getting involved is key to a good experience on a US campus. Here you see a list of, some of the student activities and clubs that are available. There's a lot of them. So there's something for everybody, from, like I mentioned before, from the choir group to the fashion club to the International Student Council, and so on, as you can see them listed here. I would like to highlight our performing arts program, but I'll do that later too, mostly because there are some grants. So grants as in a little money, like scholarship, that is given to the students who also enter some of our performing arts groups. So I'll tell you more in a second, really. Sports play a real big role at Sacred Heart University. We have in total almost that's almost 2,500 students involved in sports somehow at different levels. Some in the varsity teams, some in the club sports, some in the intramural sports. So you will find also something for you if you are passionate about sports. But let's get now to the application details and requirements. So Sacred Heart University accepts from international students applications both on the Common App. This is something that is used almost everywhere in America to apply for university. But we know that a lot of international students are not familiar with the Common Application. They don't know what it is, or they don't know how to use it because they obviously come from a non-US system. So we created the Sacred Heart University application. So you can use the SHU application to submit your application, but either way, it's the same information. It doesn't make a difference to us, okay? They're both online. So no hard copies that need to be sent to us for anything. You submit your application. You can submit your application to come for either the fall intake, which is the most popular one of all, and the fall semester begins at the end of August. Or you can apply for the spring intake, which begins in January. Okay, so we have 2 intakes a year for undergraduate program, with only one exception, which is our major in nursing. Nursing, the College of Nursing has only 1 intake a year, and that is the fall intake. Nursing is also our most competitive and selective programs, so it has some additional rules. If there's questions about nursing, I will take them later. What do you need to submit if you want to apply for Sacred Heart University? We obviously need to receive official copies of your transcripts. Now, keep in mind, we always refer to high school transcripts. So in the US language, I want to say, we refer to college almost as an equivalent to university, okay? So the truth is that what we need to see here as transcripts are basically your last 4 years of secondary education. So in a way, for a lot of you, if you come from an Indian system where you go from your school, secondary school degree into junior college, well, that's what we need to see, grades from your year 9, 10, 11, and 12 if you've already completed also year 12. For everybody else elsewhere, we need to see really your last 4 years of school, okay, of education. If you are a transfer student, and I mean, if you're already attending a university, maybe you started 1 year, and now you want to transfer elsewhere, we will also need to see your university transcripts, okay, what you have completed so far. We need to receive at least 1 letter of recommendation written by either your college counselor, your guidance counselor, or one of your teachers, preferably 2, but 1 is the minimum that we ask. We are optional with SAT and ACT scores. So if you want to send a score because you think it will look good on your application, send it. If you don't want to send it because you don't think you did well or you didn't take the SAT, that's also okay. And we don't require interviews, but we always suggest applicants to connect with us. And that will be myself, my colleague Suzanne, and do a video. Like typically it's a Zoom call that we do with students, even before COVID, but try to connect with us. It gets you a way to make us know you. Okay, you can introduce yourself, you can tell us more about you, and also ask us any questions. I said that we are test optional for SAT and ACT, but that doesn't mean that we don't check the English proficiency of any international students. So you will be required to prove us that you are proficient in English. We accept plenty of English language tests and certifications. The most common ones that we receive are TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, but Cambridge, something else I can think of, the Pearson, PTE is another one. We have all of them listed on our website. I just put here the most common ones and the minimum score. See, 80 for TOEFL, 6.5 for IELTS, 110 for Duolingo, okay? And then, well, copy of valid passport ID page just to verify that you exist, your identity. And we will need that if you get admitted for your I-20 later on. Scholarships. This is something else that everybody wants to need to hear about. So here is the information. We do offer some academic scholarships to undergraduate students. So these are merit-based. So they're based on your grades from school, how good you are, how good of a student you are. And they're partial. We don't have full scholarships, okay? We also don't have need-based financial aid. So unfortunately, we don't offer need-based financial aid to international students, but only to US citizens or green card holders, okay? Any of you is listening, say if you're a dual citizen, you have also have an American passport, you can apply for financial aid. International students aren't eligible because it's federal funds that is disbursed. But you can receive partial merit-based academic scholarships. You can also receive some extra grants for what? Well, if you decide to participate in one of our performing arts activities, you see here band, dance, choir, all these performing arts group, if they accept you and say, sure, you have a call with them or an audition online with them, they will grant you a little extra money. Community service is something else. If you commit to do a minimum number of hours of community service in your first year at Sacred Heart, you can also get a little extra grant. So all this, can sum up to a good amount of money for an undergraduate student that can cover part of the annual tuition. And just to wrap this up, I'd like to highlight again the value of Sacred Heart University. We know we are a private university. It obviously takes a financial also investment to enroll and attend a university like us, but what we like to stress here is the value of the education that you are going to get, as well as the value of the experience, obviously, you're going to get, and your return on investment. I mentioned before the employment rate for our graduated students. Here is some of the national rankings and publications that recognize or has recognized up to this year Sacred Heart University among the best national schools, the best business schools. So this is also something that I would like you to keep in mind when you select the institutions that you would like to apply for. And I know that I could cover a lot more than this today. There could be so much more to talk about, but in the meantime, I would like to obviously open up for questions, since as we said before, we are going to answer any questions that are coming from you today. But I also want to leave you with some other information. This being obviously our website, our email address, one of our office phones with some, say, social media platforms as well. So WhatsApp works there too. You're welcome to use that to reach out to our office. And social media, like external social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. But that's a huge source for students. If you go on the Sacred Heart University YouTube channel, you actually find a lot of our presentations, info sessions, tours of the campus, tours of the dorms, our professors presenting their programs, and much more. So definitely there's a lot you can find online, as well as an official source of information about Sacred Heart University. But for now, I guess I will ask Lakshmi's help to try to get, if any is there, but any of your questions answered.
Sure. Yes, yes, yes. We have a lot of questions for you, Francesca.
Okay,
I'll start with live questions. I'll start with the live questions first. I'm going to unmute Durga Kedarnath Reddy. Durga, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, hi. How can I help you?
How are you?
I'm
Your
good.
voice is not very clear. Can you come near to your mic and ask your question?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, definitely. Can you explain me the fee structure?
The fee structure? Yes. Yeah, for sure. I'll go back here. So, well, really, the fee structure, any student, any of you who's listening, will end up paying attending Sacred Heart University depend on the amount of scholarship that they receive. The starting fee structure is what I can give you. Currently, our annual tuition is about 45,000 US dollars. Okay, so depending on how much scholarship you're going to get, say your total scholarship packet is 10, to keep it simple, $10,000, your annual tuition is going to be about 35, right? If
Okay.
you are a top student, you're very, you're, all, A students, you get $17,000. You also want to join the choir, so you get an extra 2,000, and maybe also community service, so an extra 1,000. That brings to about 20,000 total scholarship. So that brings the tuition even lower. Okay, but we start from about $45,000 a year, and this is for tuition and fees. Living expenses, what we tell students to budget for to live and eat, because that's important, for 1 year, as well as to cover the mandatory, this is mandated by the state, the mandatory health insurance, for 1 year, there's about an additional $20,000 to budget for, okay, for living expenses and health insurance. Okay. All right. Think we move to
Okay.
next. Yeah.
Yes. I am going to unmute Daniel Khan. And Daniel, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello there. Hi. What is your question?
Ma'am, even my question is related to the before one. What if scholarships are not for living and accommodation?
Well, no, they're not for living and accommodation, as in they counted. So you get admitted, again, you obtain, just to keep it simple, like I said before, a $10,000 scholarship packet. So that reduces the amount of your tuition, okay, from say 45 to 35, but the living expenses are always the same. So that being said, like I mentioned that before during the presentation, we do not offer full scholarships, so there will always be at least the minimum that needs to be covered by the student or the student sponsors. So the living expenses they're not discounted by us, by any university grants.
Okay, so you do not any other university do not offer or what?
I don't know about other. What I'm talking about today is the university I represent. Okay, so I can really only speak for Sacred Heart University. Any other institutions may have different policies, but I'm not speaking on behalf of any other institutions. I'm only speaking on behalf of Sacred Heart University. Okay.
Okay, means if I'm a merit-based student, like if I have good grades in other assessments and tests, so I'll just get scholarship for tuition and other things, right?
You will get the scholarships that I mentioned before, so you will be considered for merit-based academic scholarships and some other participation grants. Any of that amount that gets awarded to a student is a discount from the tuition per year, okay?
Okay, and just the living and accommodation, it is on students. Like they need to pay for that.
Yes, students must pay for that, correct.
Okay. So, ma'am, what's the living and accommodation charge for a year?
So I just answered the previous students the same question. It's about a total of $20,000 for housing, meals, and health insurance per year.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. Moving to next student, I'm going to unmute Bhavika Sharma. Bhavika, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening.
Hello, hi, good evening. What is your question?
My question is that what is the average CGPA you expect out of a child for financial aid?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So first of all, like we refer to financial aid as the need-based aid that we don't offer to international students, right? But to understand your question, like for anybody to be considered for the scholarship, right? So pretty much anybody who is admissible is going to receive at least a little something of the academic scholarship. So to go back to the root of the question, who is admissible? We look in general for 3.0 out of 4.0 students and up. Okay, so at least an average GPA, and I'm talking in the US system. So because you may come from all different systems that you listening today, but so in a US system where the highest grade is the scale is out of 4.0, we are looking for students who are at least 3.0 and up to be considered for admission and also therefore for merit-based scholarships. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Bhavika. I'll now take few questions from the chat box. So the first question that I've received is from Hemraj, and student has asked if I have around 2 years of gap and I didn't pursue any undergrad course after my high school, can I apply without showing any gap year reason other than pandemic?
Yeah, sure. No, that's an excellent question. So the two gap years in themselves are not really a reason, let's say, for us to say no, don't apply, or you're not going to be considered for admission. No, absolutely not. In again, also to the student also mentioned the fact that over the past 2 years we all went through a rough time, so a lot of families for several different reasons also had to choose to hold on to any study abroad experience. So there's a lot of students who are applying right now that have had 1 or 2 year gaps. So what we tend to do is to maybe ask a couple more questions to the students if the gap is something like 10 years or a lot more years. So at that point, we would like to understand more why this gap, what the student has done in that frame of time, as the student has some job experience, as maybe the student decided to work, as a student maybe attended some other college or university in the meantime. But for smaller gaps, especially if the gap is from this past 2-3 years, that never represents a reason for us to question if the student can be admitted. So no, it's totally fine.
Okay. Moving to next question. This is again a common question, and I think a very common question from students, that if the mode of education in school is English, do they still have to provide English proficiency test, or that can be waived off?
So generally speaking, yes, everybody must show proof of English proficiency. And honestly, taking one of these tests that I mentioned before, especially the online ones nowadays, like Duolingo, they cost about $50. Even TOEFL has an online version, IELTS has an online version. We accept all of them. It's really the easiest way for you to avoid any problems. Otherwise, you're going to have to, maybe go through an interview with us and also have someone, your English teacher, send a letter of recommendation and also have excellent grades in school just to go over the English proficiency. It's so much easier that you take a test and you submit it. The only exceptions we often make with students, there it is, with students coming from some more internationally recognized school systems, such as AP system, so like a US high school diploma. Students coming from the IB system, so students completing IB diploma or IB certificate, or students coming from the Cambridge system, so students completing AS and A levels from a British school overseas. Those can be, but also, like I want you to understand, it's not even automatic for them. We still double check some things with the students. We often required also a TOEFL from the students who maybe came from an IB diploma, especially if we noticed that the grades were good but not great, especially if the student sent us an application essay in the application that wasn't written very fluently or very correctly. So in general, we don't just waive it if you come from an English speaking school system. It is in your best interest. It really helps you to just take one of these tests. Just take it once. If you are good at English, you're not going to have any problem in obtaining the minimum score. And once you have the result, you can send it to any universities you are applying for, rather than trying to explain to all of the universities you're applying for why you shouldn't take it. And I'm sorry, this is a long answer, but and often, if I always like to be realistic with students, sometimes the reasons why students tell me, but I don't want to take to Duolingo, it's not only because they obviously claim that they're coming from an English speaking school system and that's enough, but also because they bring up the issue that, well, the cost of the test may be a little bit too much for them. So if that is the case, think about it. If the $50 fee for Duolingo test is a little bit of a burden for you right now, well, then maybe you need to also revise the institution choice that you made during your application. Because obviously, if you get admitted to Sacred University and you want to come, you need to spend a lot more money. It's about at least $50,000 a year to live and study at Sacred Heart. So this is another aspect that I always like to make clear with students. What is the real reason you don't want to take this test? Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francesca. I'll take another
Sure.
live question. I'm going to unmute Kamal Hamid. Kamal, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, hello, Miss Francisca. Hope you're
Hello.
doing fine.
Hi. I'm well. Thank you for being here tonight. What is your question?
Good. My question states that you will be needing the last four certificates for the high school in order to see the grades. Is that right?
Yes, unless, well, the point, unless you are applying, for example, now, and you're still finishing your last year. So in that case, we obviously know that, well, you cannot have your final grades yet. So, but what you have so far, right, from the previous 3 years of school, and if possible, some mid-year grades from your last year. Okay, that is the only case where, well, right, of course, you cannot have your last year's final grades, and we obviously understand that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. One more question, which is the last grade, which is the last class in the high school. I've finished, thank God. Is there a specific percentage for the last grade in high school?
Well, so I'm not, well, I cannot answer really the question as simply because all school systems that we work with are different. So if your grade depend, what school system a school's grades come from, we convert them into the US grading scale, and then we determine the GPA of the student. So for every school system, we receive transcripts from Brazil, from India, from Saudi Arabia, from Japan, and Norway. They're all different. So there's not just a general percentage I can give you. For the US system, we'll look at 3.0 and up. So when you send us your documents, we translate your grades into the US system and calculate the GPA. So I want you and everybody else to understand this. There's really no cost for you to apply. So there's no cost for you to submit your application, upload all your documents, and then you can find out if you are admissible or not. Okay, so we don't give the previews to students before they apply. Like if you show us your documents and we tell you you're admissible, yes or no, we don't do that. You must submit your application. We look at your actual documents and we give you a decision. And the application, the online application that I explained before, is free of charge for international undergraduate students. So that's why I recommend just do it, okay? It costs you nothing, but you can know for sure if you can be admitted or not.
Yes, I got it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Kamal. Moving to next question. This question is from chat and has been asked by Daniel. Student has asked that if I have a disability, for instance, a visual impairment, and I feel taking this opportunity, I'm excelled in my high school. Which consideration is there for me? Because I require that I move with my guide assistive technology. How is it done?
Yes, that is an
Yeah,
excellent question. Oh, I'm sorry. Was it over or there's more?
yeah. Please continue.
Okay, so now that's an excellent question. So for any students seeking to apply for Sacred Heart University, but who have either any, physical, mental disability or learning difficulties, and they're concerned about that. So at Sacred Heart University, once you enroll at Sacred Heart University, you will be working with our Learning Service Center as well as our Accessibility Center. So we do have experts on campus that then make sure that if you are in need for some learning support or any other physical, support on campus, you will be assisted. So and I know I'm answering the question very generally, but you are a student on a wheelchair, you know that you will need a room that is accessible and all the services accessible for you, right? And we have that. If you know you're a student with a learning difficulty and it has to be diagnosed medically, though, you can't just tell us, hi, I have dyslexia. Well, it needs to be certified, right, by your doctor. But any students who presents their documentation will be provided with the tools that are required for them to succeed. So in that sense, that is totally fine. I think the question was also though asking like if the application or something is reviewed in a different way or something like that. Well, that yes and no. So we review every application with a holistic approach, which means that we take into consideration all the information provided by the students, so the grades, the essay, the letters of recommendation, the English proficiency level, maybe a standardized test score, etc. So that all comes into play. However, at the same time, if the student, for example, was diagnosed with a learning disability during school, so they had the tools in their secondary schools too to make sure they could keep up with the program and succeed, the grades review that is applied, it is still the same for all other students, okay? But like I said, with that holistic approach, we take into account any pieces. Sometimes a student may not even disclose in the application about any disability or learning difficulty. Sometimes they do disclose that. Sometimes the student doesn't, but it is the guidance counselor who writes about that in a letter. Okay, so that explains to us what the student went through, what tools the student had. So that is all valuable information for us. But if a student is admitted and at that point the student will need the learning support or accessibility services, we definitely have those available at the university.
I'll take the next question. This question is again from the chat. Has been asked by Taksh, and the student has asked that I'm pursuing 12th standard this academic year. Till the last date of application, I won't get my high school transcript. So what would be the justified manner to enroll in the business undergrad program?
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, I'll answer this question. It also brings to mind something else that I didn't mention. So first of all, like I said before, if you, for example, want to apply tomorrow for the fall 2022 intake, you can still do that. But if you are right now attending your last year of school, of course, you cannot send us your final 12th grade transcripts, but you can send us everything else that you have available, okay, until now. And that is totally fine. If you get, so we'll review your application based on the transcripts that you have submitted, what you have so far. If you get admitted and choose to enroll, well, by the time the semester begins, I think the deadline every year is like September 15th or around that date. You must have your school send to the university your final official transcript, so that prove that you graduated from school, that you actually finished the year successfully. Okay, so you need to do that. But this question also adds one more piece of information, that is, except for the major in nursing, for all the other majors that we offer, and I'll bring up the slide again in case anybody wants to look at it, if I find it. There we go. It doesn't matter what subjects you have taken specifically. Like, for example, you want to apply for management. You don't need to have taken management classes in school before. It's okay if you've never taken that. We don't have specific subjects requirements for specific majors. And the reason is this, because we allow you to change major. So if you, for example, apply for management, we don't require that you have management or business classes in your last 2 years of school. If we then allow you, one semester later to change and do biology, it wouldn't make sense. This is not the same system you have in your own country. It's a different one. So it doesn't matter what subjects you have taken for all of the majors that you may choose, except for nursing. Like I said before, nursing it's more specific, that has different rules. But for everything else, it doesn't matter, okay?
I'll take the last question now. This is again a question from Shad, and Shad has asked that I'm doing Polytechnic Diploma in Mechanical, which is a 3-year diploma after my 10th grade. Will I be eligible for an undergrad program in mechanical engineering at the university?
So I would recommend for a student like that so after grade 10, excuse me, is doing is that a 3-year diploma, Lakshmi?
I didn't understand. Yeah.
No, sorry, you said the student asking is program is now a 3.
Diploma.
Okay.
A3.
A 3-year diploma. Yeah. I would recommend the student, maybe, I don't know if you can put it in the chat somewhere, but to obtain a credential evaluation for this particular credential that he's obtaining. If it's not the national path, the regular, traditional, natural path in your own school system to access university, that it's not the equivalent or a U.S. high school diploma, or it's actually a little bit more, it's a little less. If we cannot determine that, the easiest way to do it is it's for the student to request to companies like WES, WES, like wes.org or Spantran. There are several agencies out there that can provide the student with an official credential evaluation of his diploma. So these are American-based companies. What they do is they translate your diploma, your degree, your certificate into the American system. And so we universities go by what they say. So if the credential evaluation that they do for you says that your diploma is equivalent to, I don't know, 1 year of university, right, of a U.S. university, or your diploma is the equivalent to a high school diploma. So we'll make a decision based on that. So that would be the best recommendation I would have for that student, to make sure that there is no either misunderstandings or holdups to his application, because the admissions office needs to, make sure that credential is eligible. I would mostly say that you may even find out that what he's doing is a little more than a high school diploma, and so you may even be able to transfer some credits here, but we cannot tell that until we have the evaluation. So Wes, I don't know if I can, let's see if I can put it in the chat maybe for everybody. So an official credential evaluation can be obtained by companies like Wes, Wes.org is their website. Spain Train is another company that does that. I think FIS is another one, but there's a lot of them out there. I would definitely recommend obtaining one. If you are unsure, like if you know that you are completing a program that is different than what the majority of students in your country does to go to university, definitely obtain a credential evaluation.
Thank you so much, Francesca. I have shared these details on the chat to students. Students,
Perfect.
you can read out about these details in the chat and you can copy it down.
Great.
And yeah. So with this, we have come to the end of the session, and I would like to thank Francesca for taking out time today and doing this session for all of us and helping students with their queries. I hope that you enjoyed, Francesca, interacting with the students, because I know a lot of students are happy that their doubts got cleared now.
I'm very happy to hear that, and I thank everybody who was online tonight to listen to this presentation. You can always reach out to both Shiksha or directly Sacred Heart University if you have some specific question, and I really hope this was helpful to all of you.
Okay, student, due to time constraint, there would be few questions that we were not able to take, but do not worry, your details will be shared with the university, also with the Shiksha counseling team here, and they will be able to help you out with your queries. Further, in case you want to get in touch with the university representative, you can let the counseling team know here at Shiksha, and they will be able to connect you with them. And with this, I would now like to end the session. I would like to thank Francesca once again, and have a great day, Francesca, there, and have a great evening to all the students who joined the session. Take care of yourself, be safe, and bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Be safe. Have a good night.